All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's office hours. We're going to make this a kind of an update slash questions answered session. And really, anybody that's attending, which looks like right now I've only got one person. Man, I hope more people come on. It's always much better whenever we have lots of people coming on. What's interesting is I know everybody's busy. I know everybody has things to do and times don't always work out. Maybe we need to look at doing these at different times. But whenever we look at the stats and stuff on the office hours, we can see a lot of people coming in, playing, replaying, watching, rewatching certain areas. So I can tell that they're useful. I hope they are for you. But we will be talking about some of the questions and answers of things, some updates on the software. So for those that don't know me, my name is Mark Stepp. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at Realvolve. Have been with Realvolve for, I think this is going on 14 years, 13 years, something like that. Been in this business for 33 years, just helping real estate agents with technology, helping them create a sustainable automated business. And that's really what I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping people understand the why and even the how. I mean, there's just a lot of technology things out there. Some of them are worth using. Some of them are a little bit challenging, but certainly want to be able to help you guys create that business that you need to be sustainable. Today we're going to talk about some of the updates, some of the things that we've been going through and challenges and successes, and hopefully this will be a good input for you. I was talking with one of our users, chatting actually on Messenger, and just had some concerns about the state of things and wanted to have more updates. So I really want to try to do more updates, letting you guys know where things are, what we're doing, some of the new features that we're planning and working through. So it's getting to be an exciting time on our side of this. Also do some questions. I really don't have many pre-done, and if we don't have any questions from the audience, we may cut this one short. Also talk about just how to get some help, how to get some additional services. Want to make sure that everybody knows that you can go to the Realvolve. Actually, I need to change this one. The Facebook page. Definitely go to our Facebook page. We've got links and stuff to things. But to get to previous office hours, you can actually go to realvolve.com/office hours and see the previous ones. We did have a little bit of a technical issue with YouTube, and some of them weren't getting updated properly and getting removed. But those are on there now. The relationship scoring, a couple weeks ago, we talked about relationship scoring. Definitely, if you have any kind of questions about how do you score how do we score relationships, and how does the scoring mechanism work? I went through all of that. Also talked about the contact cross section, how that is utilized with that score, and some of the things that go along with that. So definitely go back to that. And then for those that really want to be automating, doing things within your business through Realvolve, but also other applications, integrating Realvolve with Zapier is a big plus. And what I did last week is we talked about some of the changes that Zapier has been going through, and the upgrades that they did, and what all you guys can do to do some integration. So went through some of that. So hopefully that will be some good resources for you to use and learn from. I do want to talk about recent updates, and this has been going on for honestly too long, but it's been important. and I want to make sure that everybody understands kind of our side. I don't want to give um, the illusion that everything has been hunky dory, but we've got some exciting things that we've been working on and doing. So a few months ago, we totally replaced even though it doesn't look a whole lot different yet. The engine, the kind of the background functionality of the Realvolve calendaring, the activities, the workflows, that type of stuff, that background engine, uh, basically we took the engine out, put a new engine in, and like any kind of mechanic, you got to do some tuning. And unfortunately, it's taken us a while to do some tuning. The challenges that we run into were not minor necessarily, but the process that we had to go through was one of some diligent um, um, milestone points that we had to hit, basically. So one of the things that we've done, and it was really kind of a consequence of the growth that we had in Realvolve, was whenever we originally wrote Realvolve, the software engineers wrote it, there were a few users, and it did a lot of things and a lot of moving parts, and that was all great. The challenge became whenever we started scaling the business larger and larger. More users, more systems, more things getting added, more integrations. There's just a lot of things that happen, and we found out very quickly that things were becoming a little bit of a challenge, and things weren't updating as quickly, and things weren't doing the things that they were supposed to. So that's really why we had to redo the calendaring engine. And whenever we did that, we replaced all that. We had to go through and deal with technical challenges that arose that came up from those updates. So we started going through the process, doing the updates, doing the fixes, getting yelled at a lot from our users, and I truly apologize for the challenges. Please understand that both myself and our entire team really, really, really have your best interests at heart. We've been doing this for a long time, and we know how important all this is to you. It's not gone to deaf ears. But one of the things that we do every time that we do some kind of update or whatever, we do post that update and also kind of give you a list of things that we're working on. A lot of people don't know it, don't see it, I don't know. But you can go out to realvolve.com/product_updates, or inside of Realvolve, there's just the updates button down at the bottom right-hand corner. You can go in there and you can see it. So what that does is that will log out. Actually, let me do something. I was in there, updates. Here we go. Whenever you go to the product updates or you click on the updates icon, either one, it will take you into our Realvolve product updates area, which lists all the different things that we've done through the different years each time we do that. And opening up in the 2024, basically it's showing you what we've done. So I've not done this in a while, but since our last update, we've done several different things, several things that were important. And I wanted to kind of go through a few of these, explain, make sure that you understand what was done, how it was done, and why it's important. So I know that my last update, I'm pretty sure we did on April 3rd. So we may actually have this one on there, but a lot of the switching of the engine as I was saying earlier, the calendaring engine, there are a lot of things that go on with the calendar. And while it looks like a normal calendar, there's lots of back things that happen. So we want to make sure that um, want to make sure that we update the calendar in a certain way and do certain things. And if you're moving around in that calendar, it does functionality. And one of the things that was a challenge was just switching between the daily, weekly views. It was hiding those activities that had actually been completed. We corrected that. So now even the completed activities are showing. The issue where the show tasks checkbox was getting unchecked whenever you switch certain views and it was not getting rechecked. Anyway, that checkbox piece is now fixed. And then also just the calendar tab itself would show unrelated activities. So if you went into a contact record and looked at it for the very first time, it was fine. But if you clicked on a button or whatever, it would actually show basically the full calendar inside of an individual contact record. We can't have that. So we fixed that. So that was a few things there from the second. And one of the more highly requested items that we had was within Realvolve. Whenever you go and do a email from an activity, say you've got an email that needs to go out, but you've got it set for manually send with preview. Preview being that you want to preview it before it goes out. You might want to make changes or whatever. And for some time, and it was just the way the original engineers had done it, the window, the typing window was just extremely small. Part of that was because we had originally had a different email editor that didn't have as much stuff in there. But once we added our bigger editor that gave less space for you to actually type in, that typing area now is much larger. And I wanted to show this because this is an important one. So whenever we go through this, let's say we've got signal to Linder. This is some items in my trainer database, so I don't really use this on a daily basis, but this is one activity that was that's to send an email. Now there was, and it'll be on one of the other updates, whenever you look at an activity in your activities list, this icon here opens up the left side. You can click on the view all. It shows all the activities on the right side. We did have a problem, and we'll cover this in one of the updates that was more recent, was you can come in here and complete these properly, and it was not a big deal. If it came up where it had a checkbox, an action, or something like that, it worked fine over here. But if you did that same thing on this side, it wasn't popping up. Well, technically it was popping up. It was just popping up off the screen. We fixed that. But one of the things that we did is whenever you have an activity like this, where there is a email that needs to go out, you're going to send that email, choose run. We have the edit button. Now you can just send it as it is. If you know it's the way you like it, just send it. You can choose to skip it if you want. But in this case, we want to edit it. And whenever we edited it, in past, it would just show up a small window down here at the bottom. And now, whenever you open it up, it's a much larger window. You can scroll and get access to all that. So definitely something that, and I'm going to choose to not send that because I'm not sure who that is. But basically, once you complete that activity, it goes off. It now works on the left side is same as the right. Similar type of thing as far as size and scale is if you're on your dashboard and you're doing the same thing. One of the important things that you should do every day is just come in and see what's on my list of tasks. Now you can see, because I don't use this every day, I've got some things that are past due, they're in red. But whenever I go to complete them, the little check boxes and stuff come up. And once I complete them, save it, then those activities go away. We did have some issues with them going away. Sometimes they were checked and they kind of remain there. And I do have one question on that in my questions area. I'm going to cover that. But whenever you go to do any kind of email now and run that, even from the left side, it opens up into a much larger screen, and then you can do the process of sending it. Again, I want to choose do not send. So that is kind of a big request. A lot of people ask for that bigger typing area that is now available. Fix the ability to use the checklists and actions within the calendar. That was another issue kind of related to that same checkbox being off. If you were in the calendar and you went to complete an activity that's in the calendar, say weekly follow-up, if it had any kind of checklist like this, it just wasn't showing. Well, again, it was showing off the screen. It was outside of the view, so no one could see it. That has been corrected and fixed, so that's available as well. Fixed issues with the importing of dates and the greeting, which caused the import to get stuck. So for those newer users that are wanting to, import data, we did have an issue with some dates. If you were trying to import dates and they weren't in a specific format, month, day, year, if they were in different style formats with dashes versus slashes or whatever, it was not importing properly. And there was some greeting issues as well, getting things stuck inside that import. We have fixed that, taken care of that. Fixed issue where the contact related merge fields, i.e. greeting, would not work in the SMS. So this was kind of a missed one. This really had nothing to do with the calendar as much as just some quirky things within the system. So if you were in a contact record, let's say, I'm just going to go to Mary Smith here. Anytime that you had an email for Mary and you went and you used the greeting, actually come down here, the greeting field, in an email, no big deal. It would fill that value in there without a problem. But there was a challenge with SMS, and this was happening both in the contacts and whenever you're doing it from the properties and transactions, the greeting field wasn't being filled in properly. That has been fixed whenever you send it from the properties and transactions area. Most of the time you would be referencing a specific party member, like seller agent greeting, and that one worked fine. It was just the plain greeting field. If you were sending it to the lender and just using the greeting merge field by itself without saying lender.greeting or pound greeting, it was not working. So that has been fixed. Fixed issue related to the workflow wizard appearing off the page was actually part of the action. So many users use the functionality, and I like to call it branching workflows. where you have a workflow, you've started a workflow, and something in that workflow is somewhat conditional. And you might have an action that says, based off of this certain condition or whatever, I may want to run a workflow from this activity. And basically, to do that, you can go to any activity. Let me go to something in here. Go to a, let me get one here that does have an action. Just bear with me. Email. So let's say, for instance, for whatever reason, I want to, first letter checklist. Don't change anything. I'm not sure what this is about. Oh, it's just checklist to the buyers. Don't change anything. Don't don't buy a car. Don't do crazy things that's going to mess your credit score up. But maybe at the same time, you want to create or start a workflow that does something else based off of sending this or not. Well, you can come over here and say, start a workflow, and then choose the workflow that you want to start, which is all great. That allows you to what we call branch or do additional things that weren't part of the original workflow. Well, whenever we changed out the engine on this and you went to complete that activity that had the ability to branch, the pop-up of that workflow window that actually takes you through the wizard was popping up off the screen. You could not easily, you could, but you couldn't easily start that workflow. And that is something that you need to be able to do. So it was appearing off the screen, off the page a little bit. The buttons were missing because they were off the page. If you zoomed out, you could do a control minus and zoom out. You could actually get to them in some form or fashion, but it was a nuisance. Anyway, we fixed that, took care of that, which is a good thing. Copying of workflows. So one of the things that anytime you're in a workflow and maybe you want to make changes to an existing workflow, you choose copy. This will give you the ability to copy the entire workflow, make changes to it, do things. There was an issue where if the pop-up came up, you told it to copy. It did copy. It did everything as it should, but it was leaving the little pop-up box. You had to manually close it. No big deal, but it definitely was a nuisance. Took care of that. So fixed issue where some workflows could not start due to repeating activities. Now, this is another one that this was a new engine issue that was a bit of a challenge for some people. Whenever you started a workflow, if that workflow had repeating activities, a lot of workflows do, it would, and it was a certain type of repeat, it would cause a challenge. And unfortunately, that one was not tested well, I'm going to assume, and it slipped through. But that we finally figured out what that challenge was, and if you had any workflows that were not finishing, they should finish now. They should start properly, which is a good thing as well. Okay, April 24th. Activities and checklists couldn't be viewed. Okay, this is the one we were talking about where it was appearing off the side if you were in the calendar. Basically, that has been resolved. The workflow wizard could disappear when starting a workflow using an activity. So this one was another one where there was a repeat challenge. Whenever you started the workflow, you went through, and if it had a certain type of repeating activity, it would just close the wizard to start a workflow. Very annoying. Anyway, we got that quickly resolved. I think it was that same day. The changes to the daily email reminders. So in your settings, anytime that you go into the email section, there are two options that have associated times with them. So do you want to get your daily email reminders, yes or no? And if you do, what time do you want to get them? Also, anytime that you want to send out emails automatically that do not have or SMS, any activity that is going to send a message, if that message or that activity doesn't have a specific time to be sent, it's going to use the daily time. It's just a time when I want to normally send out my automated message at this time. Okay. We had a situation where you turn this off, you can turn it on. If you came back, it was left wherever it was previously set. Your change didn't take effect. That now works just fine. Same thing for the time. So if you change the time on something, say we want to do this at 10 a.m. and we want to turn it on and come back in, we'll be back at 10 and on. So that was an issue. We had the same situation on the daily reminders month or so ago, and I'm confused why myself why it flip-flop, but and may have been related to the one that we did here, caused that one to break. I'm not sure, but in either case, that has been resolved, and so you can make whatever changes you want to that. There was an issue with the relationship scoring filter. Go figure. The office hours that I did on the relationship scoring, right after the presentation I did, somebody said, well, my relationship score filter isn't working. So it's like, okay, what's the deal? So one of the things that you can do, and make sure everybody knows this, we talked about it in our office hours for the relationship scoring piece, is you can set up filters. And whenever you create a new filter, you have the ability to select all kinds of different things that you want to filter on. Tags, categories, who's the record owner. We did talk about the referrer on the referral training that we did. But we do have this relationship score piece. And what that is related to is what score, what score do you want to limit the list to? So I want to find anybody that's in a certain range on the score. This is going to help you identify those important people in your list. So I can come in here and say, well, there are, I want to find all the different people that are within a certain range, and boom, there they are. So this was not working, and it was recognized right after our office hours, but we got it squared away right away, and that was is now available as well. Okay, relationship score. Fixed issue where activities that use an action to start another workflow would not mark the activity as completed. Okay, that was a very, I think that was a one-day thing anyway, but just to let you know, whenever you go and you had activities that would start other activities, I'm not going to save that filter. If you went to go and say you wanted to complete a certain activity, I go to complete this. If it had the ability to start another workflow, you go to start it. as soon as you started it, that activity should be done. I mean, it should be completed, and it wasn't marking it as complete. We did take care of that. Large checklists. This is something some of our more advanced users, one of the things that you can do is, create checklists. And one of the things, and I probably should, I'm not sure I've got any in this account. One of the things that you can do whenever you go to complete this is you can have a checklist. Yes, I completed this. Yes, I completed, or, no, I don't need to put notes, whatever. You can create this checklist of things that have to get completed before that particular activity is considered complete. Well, if you're either more OCD than me, and you've got everything on the list. My wife is big on checklists, so this would definitely count for her. But if you go through and say you've listed 10, 20 different checklist items in one activity, it was popping it up again off of the screen and not allowing it to scroll. We now have that fixed as well. So if you've got several activity checklist items, they don't all fit in the prescribed window, and this window will get larger. It'll show larger, but if it's even larger than what will show on the screen, it will also scroll. So it was popping up off the screen, even if you had a few, and that has been resolved. That's a good one. Corrected the 1 day off. So over this past weekend, this has been a huge challenge for a lot of people, and it was something that was as a result of switching those calendar engines, where we had old activities that were created with the old calendar engine. Whenever we went to the new engine, one of the enhancements that we did was making sure that all the calendar items in the calendar were properly assigned the date based off of what's called UTC, the universal time. What that means is, if I put in a date into the database and say I'm in Missouri, where I'm currently at, I'm in Central Time. Well, storing that in Central Time would be a problem if I then flew to California, and I'm in California, I'm 2 hours different. Now it's the time should change. Well, everything should be stored in UTC time, which is the global marker for all dates, and then it adjusts those times based off of where you are at in the world. No matter where you're at in the world, it'll show you the correct time for that activity. The problem was whenever the original engineers created this, they didn't use UTC time on everything, and some things were, some things weren't, and it caused a real challenge once we switched engines. Big challenge. So now we have some activities that are UTC, some that are not. And we had to figure out a great way, or a good way, to not lose data and make sure that everything is kept and resolved properly on their dates. We did that, got that finished over this past weekend, and it is all your birthdays, your anniversaries, your workflow activities, things that might have been off by 1 day are now showing properly the way they should. I apologize for that one profusely. Again, it should have been something that was caught ahead of time, but whenever you're using test data and you're looking at it, it's like, yeah, it looks good. Not off by, it's off by 1 day and you don't recognize it. And then last few things we've done. Corrected the issue preventing workflow activities containing the every day, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and every Tuesday, Thursday. So one of the things that many of you probably know, just want to make sure that everybody does. Whenever you come into, and I'm going to just go ahead and say repeat. See if I've got any in here. I don't. I'm going to go into one of these activities. One of the things that we have in here is the repeating option, and this is the way activities are stored in the calendar. We don't store a copy of every activity that it repeats on. There's a pattern for things. Well, you can repeat that. Excuse me. You can repeat things daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Birthdays are yearly. Those are important dates and stuff. But we've also got these items in here called every weekday, Monday through Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday. These are kind of common meeting day options. And while you can just go into weekly and say, well, I want to do these Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can certainly do it that way. We have specific ones set up for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a little bit less work. But those three options, whenever you went to start a workflow, if any of the activities had that, it was failing, causing challenges, and now it is corrected. So that's that one. Issue preventing SMS numbers. We had some newer users wanting to assign SMS. One of our providers, whenever you make a phone call through the call feature of Realvolve or you use SMS, there's actually a third-party software that we use called Twilio. They have made some changes and stuff to their system dealing with SMS, with all of these rule changes that have gone through, that you have to be verified and whatnot. And there were some challenges that came because of changes to that. And so whenever you went to select an SMS number, it wasn't showing up. So then you go and select it again, and it wasn't showing up. Technically, it was assigning a number. It just wasn't showing up in Realvolve because of something not being saved properly due to the way things were changed. But that has been corrected. So if you are a new user, you select a number, it will be available now. Filter issue preventing system from showing activities if no. Okay, this one, this was a single user. Actually, there were two. They were somewhat unrelated, even though it was a similar type of feature. If you go in and you were clicking on the calendar, it was not coming up properly. If you went into the activities list, it wasn't showing the activity list properly unless you went in and did a filter. Pain in the butt. But came down to some unrelated data that was being stored that shouldn't have even been there. So that one I'm not even gonna. Most people, only one, actually two, like I said, actually even had that as an issue. So so those have been the majority of the changes. Huge effort to get to where we're at, and I know it's taken a long time. Just understand that we definitely want to make sure that you guys are running and doing the things that you need to do. Got some really cool things now that we can move towards once we got those out of the way. There are a couple things that we did notice just recently, and we're working on those. The other part of this list is kind of what are we currently working on, and one of the things that we are working on is in this list. If you do specify a date range, say I want to get everything from May 1st to May 4th. Well, if you look at that, you may, well, there's just because there's not any in there. Actually, let me go to, these are the 4th. If I go from May 1st to the 3rd, those two should go away, and they don't because of that UTC problem. It's off by a day. We are going to fix that. We're in the middle of doing that one. So if you really don't want the fourth item, just choose 1 day less for right now. We'll have that resolved soon. And then the template stats. This has been something that has been a problem for some time. In the templates area, whenever you send a template, we have statistics. We have things that it tracks whenever you send an email. Well, there is a little icon. Number one, the icon's in the wrong spot. That just got fixed today, not pushed to production. But whenever you go in there, it should be pulling up statistics about that template, and how many were delivered, how many were opened, clicks, and stuff like that. The numbering on this, the actual statistical portion of this isn't working, hasn't been working for some time, and because of all the other things that we've been working on, this one is now on the queue to be done. Hopefully we can get this done very soon. So those are the two things that we're currently working on, amongst some other bigger things. I can't tell you what those are yet, but definitely got some exciting things on the docket. Any questions about any of those? I know I get a lot of different things. Are there any problems that you're currently experiencing? And not that I want this to be a complain party or anything, but I do want to hear you. I do want to make sure that we cover anything. If you've got a particular problem, I want to make sure, and we've got a few on the list of things that support team has provided to the engineers. They're working through those. If there's anything particular that you want to ask, certainly ask. I don't have a problem. I may not have the answer for you, but
hey, Mark, I have 3 questions. One of them is related to the program itself. When you're sending out an email to the client, I noticed that the greeting only has the first person. It doesn't always have 2 parties on the greeting. Is it something that we're not doing, or does the program not allow you to, like Bob and Mary? Instead, it's just doing Bob because he's the first seller or the first buyer, and it's not picking up the other party. Is that something that we're missing, or is that just not set up for that?
Okay, so the one thing that's important to know there is, whenever you're using the greeting field, it was originally designed for like relationship spouse type fields. In the contact field, if you got Fred Johnson here, for instance, and I go into the personal details section, we have this relationship status. Actually, let me go into somebody that maybe has
yeah.
Well, of course, I'm picking everybody that doesn't have.
I know where you're going. I have activated the relationship between the 2 parties, the spouse, but it's still, when you're doing the greeting, it only has 1 person. Okay, I see where you're taking me now. Okay.
So whenever you have that relationship, one of the things that it should do for you is, once you select that person, it should pre-build both the greeting and the mailing name for you. But if you've gone in there and you've manually typed in, it will keep whatever you've typed in. So it's possible that maybe you had gone in, you had it set for single, you had a greeting in there, and it just wasn't auto repopulating, is a possibility.
Perfect.
But this is the greeting, this is the field that's actually used, but it's part of that relationship section. And so if it's just John in there, go ahead and type in John and Mary, whatever. The difference between the two being, the greeting part normally doesn't have the last name, where the mailing name does. If the last name is different, we've got people that have relationships, but they have different last names. It'll rebuild this differently, where it'll say, John Smith and Mary Doe. It puts it in with first and last name, and the mailing name in the automatic section, but you can go in there and you can change it to however you want. Dr. and Mrs. Smith, whatever. But these are the fields that are used whenever you're using.
Okay, perfect. That's very helpful. The other question I had was, in the past, and I'm going way back, y'all used to send out email notifications of the topics that were going to be coming up on the next office hours. And then y'all also used to host webinars. Are you guys still doing that, or is that on hold?
We kind of put a lot of our webinars and stuff on hold because of all the challenges that we have been going through, quite honestly. Not that we didn't want to sell software, but we also didn't want to cause more problems with everybody. Because of all these fixes, we've made some major progress this past month. A lot of those are going to restart. A lot of the webinars, the trainings, the coaching and pieces. We just felt like it was a little bit disingenuous to be showing all these great features and yet having some problems. So be quite honest with
you. Thank you. And that was in the chat, so you don't have to worry about it. You answered the question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good. Yep. And the only question that I had in my list of other questions, because this had been coming up, was I do have activities that keep showing even though they are completed. How do I get them off the list? And this is one question that this is another one that's related to old engine, new engine, transfer of data type stuff. If, and this may not be a problem for you guys at all, but if, what the heck? If for some reason you've got activities that do show they're checked, that it's like they've been completed. I mean, if I go to complete something, it should take it off the list. But if it's not off the list, but it is checked, this was kind of a transition issue. And the easiest thing to do is just go in there, check it as incomplete, and then check it as recomplete. And it should take it off the list. If, and this is a possibility, if after you check it a second time, the check goes away, then just check it one more time. In that old engine, and part of another reason why we needed to get away from that old engine was it was storing some data multiple times for the same thing. So technically, if you went to go complete it and it was checked, but it was still on the list, it was because there's another copy of that activity's status in the database. And so it was still showing something as being not complete. So it was showing it, even though it was showing the completed one as being checked. Once you uncheck it and recheck it, it should correct it. And it also does a kind of a double take check, to correct the data and for old issues. And if it goes away, that means, oh, there was a third activity copy in there and it's undone. So now you're redoing it and it fixes it. So, if you've got several in there, just uncheck them, recheck them. You might need to go in and check it one more time. It's a nuisance, but it should not happen anymore after that. It's really just a transition issue. So that is all I really have. And that I went through a lot of the update status piece. I hope this is helpful for people. Do realize that our engineers are human and we do make mistakes. Some of the challenges that we run through were simple. Some of them were a little more technically challenging, and wanted to make sure that they were corrected. So that's where we're at. Kind of State of the Union as well, I guess. Any other questions? No? All right. Did the go live? Actually, no. premium services for those that, I mean, if you've gone through our premium services, hopefully that was, we get a huge rave of all the people that, you know, they knew they needed technology, they knew they needed automation, they're not technically minded, and our premium services are there to help with that. If you feel like you're in that situation, yeah, it costs extra. We do have some discounts and stuff for people that attend. Certainly reach out and let us know. I cannot express how important it is to get your systems in place and doing it. And if you need help, they're definitely a great resource for getting that done. Anytime that you need help within Realvolve, you can go use our How Do I? It's kind of a step-by-step thing getting through there. Submit a support ticket, click on the help. There's, you know, lots of things that you can do to get help. We got all of our videos on YouTube. Just do a search for Realvolve, go to our Realvolve channel. Lots and lots of stuff there. So one more chance for questions. Otherwise, we're going to call this a day.
Thank you, Mark.
Going once, going twice. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week, and be good. Talk to you later.